Captain Hook only wants revenge on the delinquent who cost him his hand. Since Peter essentially gives life to Neverland, what does that mean for its inhabitants? Well, it means he defines them, and he dictates their actions. As far as we know, Peter and Hook's rivalry goes back to their first duel, in which Peter cut off the privateer's hand and fed it to a crocodile. It's bad enough to cut off a guy's hand. One can hardly blame Hook for wanting revenge on this kid. Peter torments the darling Descendants for generations. While Peter has carelessly ripped many children away from their parents, he is especially intent on stealing Wendy's Descendants. In the final chapter of Barry's story, Peter returns for Wendy's daughter Jane and later for Jane's daughter Margaret. While the book tries to paint this as a beautiful connection between generations, it could also be more of a curse. It's probably pretty demoralizing for Wendy to watch Peter, who she had feelings for, cast her aside in favor of her daughter. Jane likely also experiences that same sense of abandonment, followed by Margaret, and so on. Wendy and all her descendants are apparently doomed to eternal torment at the whims of a selfish boy. Peter destroys families by kidnapping their children. Peter's disdain for adults is a key aspect of his personality, but does he even think about the families he destroys? He populates the ranks of his lost boys with new children he abducts, and all signs suggest he's done this for years, scarring countless parents in the process. Is this lack of concern simply childhood innocence, or is he a sociopath, wholly incapable of feeling for others? He doesn't respect Tinker Bell at all. Tinker Bell has her own flaws, but Peter's treatment of her might help explain a lot of those. He knows she is fiercely loyal to him, and totally takes advantage of that. It's indicative of the way he treats all women, considering how insensitive he is toward Wendy. He doubles down on his manipulation of Tink. He has to notice the fairy's jealousy toward Wendy, yet he repeatedly directs Tink to help his new friend. He's totally rubbing it in her face. He seems to view Tinker Bell as either entertainment or a tool, but not a true companion worthy of a two-way relationship. Peter generally treats Wendy like garbage. In practically every version of the Peter Pan story, Wendy clearly has affection for Peter. While those feelings may be reciprocated, though he's too much of a child to recognize it, Peter consistently treats her like crap. When she helps him reattach his shadow, he congratulates himself, as if he did it on his own. He laughs at her when she's bullied by others. He often just flies off, leaving her to figure out how to catch up on her own. Peter basically views Wendy as a plaything or passing fancy. Yes, he's a child, but that doesn't change the fact that his treatment of his friend is indifferent at best and cruel at worst. He occasionally withholds food from the lost boys. In the book, Peter sometimes gives the lost boys pretend meals, either because he forgets, or he can't tell the difference between what's real and what's make-believe. When the boys complain about being hungry after receiving imaginary food, Peter refuses to believe them and ignores their requests for real sustenance. He starves his followers, another authoritarian trait. Peter is a traitor for the fun of it. There's a line in the novel that describes how Peter occasionally switches sides in the middle of a battle for the fun of it. while it's meant to characterize Peter Pan as a mischievous scamp. It's also evident in the book that there is killing in Neverland, as Peter likes to go on pirate hunts. He's a killer. Peter might even thin out his lost boys by switching sides mid-battle and slaying the very people who trust him as their leader.
Peter thins out the lost boys when they get older.
There's a passage in Peter Pan that seems to be a throwaway at first glance, but the implications are horrifying. The boys on the island vary, of course, in numbers, according as they get killed and so on. And when they seem to be growing up, which is against the rules, Peter thins them out, but at this time there were 6 of them, counting the twins as 2. Peter thins them out. What does that mean? It doesn't take a large logic leap to assume he kills them. If Peter just sends them away, the phrase thins them out wouldn't be appropriate. That has a very specific meaning, and in this case, it points to serial murder.
Peter tries to indiscriminately kill adults.
There are quite a few disturbing events in J. Barrie's original novel, Peter Pan, and some of the worst can be attributed to the hero of the story. Such incident is Peter's reaction to Wendy when she says she needs to return home to her worried mother. He was so full of wrath against grown-ups, who, as usual, were spoiling everything, that as soon as he got inside his tree, he breathed intentionally quick short breaths at the rate of about 5 to a second. He did this because there is a saying in the Neverland that every time you breathe, a grown-up dies, and Peter was killing them off vindictively as fast as possible.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.